Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I want to do a reading after what seems like for a lot of us a pretty few crunchy days, a lot of like really intense, heavy energy. And I probably will run out of daylight. I don't know how the quality of this video is going to be, although the video quality has been kind of strange since I got my new phone anyway. But yeah, it feels like, so I've been kind of tracking this energy and it seems like, so this will be kind of like a little bit of a recap from the last couple readings if you haven't seen them, but we had all those X flares after a long time of zero X flares, right around the 1111 portal. And then right after that, those sunspots moved around to the back side of the sun, and they were flaring like constantly. And so during that time I was having, some of us feel the backside of the flares even more or just as much, or at least in a different way than the ones that are coming at us. And so I had constant headaches and neck pain, even though we weren't having geomagnetic storming, we weren't really having much of anything, but I had this constant headache to the point where I was like, okay, what is going on here? Just like it was grabbing my attention. Something wanted to be seen. And when I tuned into it, what I saw was this huge, like, third eye clearing, a huge clearing or removal of the mind control programs, the conditioning, or all the ways that we were limited or corralled away from our true channel. And so once I saw that, it's like I saw the opportunity to put my fingers in the socket, and so I did, I put my fingers in the socket, and I was just having all this clarity and all these downloads around our ability to create our reality and the responsibility that we have to create our reality, and how we've been, again, conditioned and corralled away from that birthright and that empowerment and the realization of that sovereign responsibility. And the truth of reality being that we create, right? We've been corralled away from that. But in that moment, it's like the veils came off where I could just see how all it takes is to focus and to align and to believe and to affirm and to claim it. And so I was doing that. I was like in this steady stream of like, and I felt like, oh my God, I found the pot at the end of the rainbow. Like I just felt like I had won the game, like, the whole false reality. I could see through it all. I was seeing like 360. And again, that huge third eye opening and clearing. Okay. And then the sunspots came around to the front of the sun again, and we started getting hit again. We had that X flare, and it was like, oh, so the other thing that I wanted to say is right after I had that huge like communion with my divinity and seeing clearly, just the responsibility is the word that keeps coming out, responsibility and right and choice, the potential to choose, and then the choosing to be careful with our beliefs and our thoughts and what we're putting out, knowing that we're creating, right? Just seeing that really, really clearly. As soon as I grabbed hold of that and really worked that energy, immediately everything in my hologram, like, which obviously there's divine timing in that. So that's where I feel that third eye clearing was very, very collective. Even if you didn't notice it or turn towards it like super consciously and like grab it and just be like, okay, let's do this. And that was the other thing I was saying in that last reading. Like for me personally, my higher self was just like, keep your ray gun, what's that David Bowie song? Keep your whatever. Anyway, I've always loved that song. I've loved the intensity, do you know which song I mean? Oh, never mind. I'm in a little bit of a channel right now and my linear brain isn't working super well. That's okay. I'm just going to keep going. But anyway, that ray gun, like me and my higher self, it's like I was in that stream. And so in doing that, after it seemed like with those first X flares around the 1111 portal, a lot of us had a huge shift, whether we registered it or not. Humanity, the collective, there were enough of us that shifted, that it kind of shifted through and of course, all of this, again, the divine timing of when things are happening and how the cosmic energies are collaborating and then affecting us, and then we collaborate with each other, all these things. And so this huge shift, and then right after that there was this and again, whether you grabbed hold of it and worked with it really consciously or not, there was a huge third eye type of clearing around that time. Okay. And this huge expansion in either directly in your life or in the background. And so what happened for me is right after I had that, everything in my life kind of rippled and changed, and it was so profound, and it wasn't like, oh, I did that and then this made this happen. It was like, it was the divine timing for me to do that and then for this to happen and all these things, right? And so that rippling out in the collective as well, there was some divine movement always, the perfection of the symphony that we all find ourselves in. And so I was seeing, and I mentioned this in the last reading, long awaited. I mean, in reality, it would be like eons of waiting. But in this 3D realm, with the specifics of this situation, it would be like decades of waiting where for certain things happening, and they were happening on many different levels in my life and in the lives of people like my children that I care about very much. And obviously, whoever else, right? All these things happening to the point where my mind was just completely blown, where it was like, oh my gosh. And I felt so much excitement, so much expansion. Okay. But here we are in the realm of duality and polarity. And so all this expansion. And so again, you might be feeling this in your own way. And even if you're not, it's still very much in the collective energies. Okay. So bring your attention to this, right? Because there will be nuances and subtleties that if not overt, then subtleties that you might be feeling along these themes. So this huge expansion to whatever degree it was. And then this like contraction, it's like when the lightning goes through the air and then it collapses back together, right? And all the different ways that, you expand, you contract. And so, and then all of a sudden, so this is sort of part of that. What I've noticed over the years is whenever I expand into a new level of consciousness, or I up level, or I jump into a whole new timeline or whatever, there's always this attack energy that comes at me. And so it can be psychic attack, which it was. I did have psychic attack, which I haven't had in a while. And psychic attack for me, what I mean by that is at night, like a nightmare. But it's demonic energies. It's entities, and you can feel it in your house, and you see it in the dream, and they're trying to get in your house, and they're trying to get in your neck or whatever. This one was pretty mild. Lately, it's like they're trying to get in my house. It used to be like they'd be like cracking open my spine and trying to like do something. It's gotten better. And I've also gotten really good at clearing it, because I basically just put my golden tube up to all that is. It's like I've gotten pretty good at putting my fingers in the socket and then just sort of like vacuuming them up and out. Like, this is cleanup time. Come to mother, and now we're transmuted into light. And it just like always works, rather than like trying to cast anything out or say invocations or, wrestle with it all night long in fear or whatever. Okay. So quick movement like that. But anyway, but also attack from people, and so I normally don't get attacked by people. I usually have pretty good boundaries, and I'm not that social. Like, I'm social on social media, but in real life, it's like I'm doing readings or sessions, or I might occasionally spend time with like a few like, really like-minded, same level type of people. And other than that, it's just my kids and nature and just alone time. Okay. And although, a lot of that time is spent in readings and sessions and stuff like that. Okay. So a lot of the attack energy that I get is through Facebook. And of course it's easy too, because people can just like write some, like antagonistic, negative, nasty thing. And then like, they don't even know you, so I had that. And then I was like, interesting. And then I had it again. And then I had, it's like I had it like 4 or 5 different times where I was like, oh, I know what this is. It's like the goblins at the gate type of energy. When you start to expand or you jump a new level, then, it's like there's this like threshold activity where the things that are in you that aren't a match to what you expanded to have to be purged out. And so then there's little catalysts, or even like, even if it is sort of viewed at from a fourth dimensional victim perspective of like energies or entities that are trying to block you or stop you. Again, everything's in service to the light. So they can only attach and attack in areas that, might have been a little weak, or that you like just recently moved out of. And so it's like, they're trying to see if they can get in there. And then, but on the other hand, in service, it's like, it helps you seal off even more. So I had to block a few people. And one of them, like, I actually really cared about this person, but she was kind of like threatened or triggered by some of the things I was sharing about sovereignty and about creation and about our health and our bodies and the, our ability to direct what we're experiencing through our belief and, all these things. I'm having a little trouble with my words, but, and so she was always challenging and being kind of negative. And anyway, after a while, I put up with it for a while, and then I just blocked her because it was like, well, it's not in anybody's highest interest for me to enable and to just sort of like allow that type of negativity. Like why that's not, it's not appropriate. It's just not. It's not right action. And so it's our job to set a boundary on that. And so even though I felt compassion, set that boundary, and then there was another one and just kind of cleaning up. But again, it's like, it has to do with the expansion that we've gone through, and kind of like, it's like if your boundary was here, now your boundary's out here. And it's like you have to secure that boundary. You have to go and secure the boundary and see what's popping up in your hologram or in your life or in your mind. This just asking for attention and then tending to it in whatever way. And often it's a no more. I'm not engaging in this energy with myself or with anything that reflects me engaging with that energy in the external, right? So noticing that going on, where it's just a validation of like, yes, you have up-leveled and you have shifted. But the other thing that happened for me, and I think for others too, around this same time, which was just the last few days, was I couldn't feel the expansion anymore, because the purging and the cleanup, which is actually just an integration and a grounding of the expansion that you've just attained, was taking up the whole view, so, and again, it's like every time, so it's like, again, it's polarity. So if like you're here, then the opposite is here. And then if you're here, the opposite, just as could do this, we could do this, we could do this, whatever. But here, then it's here, right? So every time you do the opposite polarity, it's going to feel different than it did before, because it's a different polarity. The farther out you go, or the higher you go, then the lower you have to go to purge and to balance. The deeper you can go into your shadow, the deeper you can go into the density, into the opposite too. Because in order to integrate something, you have to have things in balance, right? So again, if you go here, and your dark is only to here, then you got to go here. And then you have the light and the dark integrated, and you stabilize that level, right? But when we reach these higher levels, and they're so amazing and you're so empowered, and then you come down here because you have to integrate it. Otherwise, you're just getting high. You're getting high off of realization, or you're getting high off of plant medicine, or you're getting high off of, like just something that raised your energy, and then you just kind of diffuses. You don't get to keep it and have it integrated in your body. So this happens in sessions. When people clear, then their polarities will rebalance, because it's like you're doing one polarity and then the other, and they rearrange based on what's cleared, and then they come into balance and they stabilize. And that's when you can keep the clearing that you just did. Otherwise, people clear and then they go home and they do the same exact things, and then all those patterns come back. But if your entire energy system reorganizes itself around that clearing and around the light that's coming in through the flow of your energy moving in the natural way, then and everything reconfigures around that, then you stabilize there, and then you start to live from that level. You start to attract from the transmission of that level of integration. You start to receive more information from that level of integration outside of the bandwidth of what you could receive when you were pretzel. So it's the exact same thing. It's like you have to get the polarities balanced, or you don't get to keep the expansion. So it can feel like such a fucking drag, where you're like, wait, I finally broke through, and now I'm denser than I've ever been, and like, what happened? And now I can't feel where I was, and maybe that's not true, and maybe everything is horrible, and nothing's ever gonna, it's like just understanding the way it works, there's expansion, there's contraction. So I was talking with a friend this morning, and we were just powwowing briefly, because we were both in this density. It's like I've been waking up in the morning, I feel depressed, I don't want to get out of bed. Luckily, I have a lot going on that involves channeling in this, like with the readings and stuff like that. So like I had a reading today, and I just knew, I just knew, because this woman and we connected 4 or 5 years ago, and we had a really, really strong connection, and then we kind of like went our separate ways. Life took us in different areas where we weren't quite relating as much. And we've been weaving back together, like in the astral and through synchronicity and through conversation. And so we did this reading today, and we were so on the same page. And we both knew that we were meant to come together to anchor this energy. And so there was just all this energy just what I'm talking about, the things that I'm talking about, we were relating with all of this. And I was like, okay, we were both like, okay, I think this is collective, and then the very next thing I saw on Facebook was another woman, kindred spirit, talking about the same thing. And so in that reading, there was a stagnation card that came up 3 times, and the woman in Facebook that I saw used the word stagnation. So it was like, oh God, that's such confirmations. That's part of why I'm doing a reading right now, because I do feel this is very collective and that a lot of us are feeling this. And I know for me, before I really had this communion with this sister, I was, again, like that depression and just kind of like, what's the point? But because I had things that I had to do in life, and I've learned this, like, don't fall for it. Like, don't let it keep you in bed forever. Just keep moving, keep moving. And even things like I think I mentioned this before, like I've been making a lot of meals, like elaborate meals, and just that thing of like, okay, I got to buy the ingredients, and then I got to chop everything up, and then I got to do the timing, and then I get to eat it, and then I clean up, and then I get to share it, and all these things. It's like, it's just helping because it's very grounding in the physical, and it kind of keeps me busy, kind of keeps me busy. And the readings and the sessions, I've been really busy with that as well. And it keeps me in that channel, so I think the importance of creativity, I've also been finding, like when I put on music, the music is really moving my energy and helping me to just stay, just stay kind of like above water and not in, but at the same time, it's like, you almost just have to go through it, because again, it's like, that's how we're integrating this level. So it's like, we might not be feeling the expansion that a lot of us just received, or that's available in the collective energy. We might be feeling the density collectively or in our own lives, but it is about this. It is about integrating this. And so that's what my cards were every morning. They were so beautiful and they were so encouraging. And there was like miracles and all these like counsel and like, like white winged energy that was just like, you are so held. And that was coming up in the last reading as well. I was like feeling safe and I was feeling held and protected. But again, when you're in the opposite polarity and you're clearing and you're balancing, you don't feel that, right? You don't feel that. And sometimes you're not supposed to feel that, because you're supposed to it's like you have to feel it to heal it, right? So being in those denser energies. But I feel like, and this came up in the reading with that woman, there was all, along with the stagnation, there was all this like, Wheel of Fortune energy as well, and fast moving energy, where it's like we are still moving forward, and we are still going through this big shift. And in fact, this sort of stagnation energy seems to be loosening. It seems to be loosening. And I feel that as we talk about it and we become aware of it and we understand what it is, it helps it to move as well. Because when we feel that level of density and we get depressed and we feel sort of hopeless, on the one hand, we're clearing, but if we believe the story too much, we can prolong it. So yeah, I think there's something about putting our attention on it, understanding it's just the nature of polarity. It's how we integrate these expansions. It's very important. Then we can shift it, because I think we were held in it. We were held in it for like 3 or 4 days, and that was really, really important, to almost feel like you were like drowning, or just like, what the fuck is going on? And you try to find answers and you can't, because you just can't even think. But now it feels like things are shifting, and that we're, just that, again, the communing, where 2 or more gather, where we kind of move this energy together, because that's the right action right now. Okay, let me jump into the cards here and see if there's, see what else wants to come through. What do we have? Oh yeah, be here now. Exactly. Oh my God. So I was just going to bring this up, but I was like, let's move into the cards. And so the be here now energy. So that's what I'm feeling as well. And again, I'm really registering the 7s, 4 and the 3 equaling 7, the 7s as the new earth energy that we're anchoring here and that we're reaching into and that we're integrating in service to all. But the hummingbird spirit, be here now, it's almost like this thing of like, just stay in the present moment, stay connected with your soul and with your inner knowing, and then take action on it. And then do that again forevermore. It's like, just, you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to figure anything out. Just stay connected and respond. And sometimes the thing that's being called for is to just fall apart, or to cry, or to do something to facilitate a release. Or sometimes the thing is to, like me with the headaches, like to tune in and be like, okay, what's this about? What's the message here? And sometimes the action is to call somebody, or to arrange a certain person, that you're feeling drawn to connect with, or, whatever it is, right? Big and small, or to not go to that thing, or to cancel everything, but just listening and taking action in the moment, being in the moment. And that's all we have to do. So the other thing was in that last reading, whether you saw it or not, there was huge, I kept mentioning coyote energy. There's all this coyote energy, and the last card that we got was coyote. And I was kind of like, wow, that's so interesting. Because it was sort of this message of like, because I was feeling very expanded in that reading. But it was this message of like, no matter how weird it gets, just trust it. And I didn't know how, it was one of those readings that was like sort of like a premonition, I didn't know how fucking weird it was going to get, and so I couldn't even remember. I couldn't even look back to any guidance to be like, what the heck is going on? It was just like really, really, really weird. But again, everything being in service. So seeing a little bit deeper into that. All right, let's see. What card? Oh, wow. This is the Eight of Fire. So that's interesting. So that does validate what I was saying about it seems like we are moving out of this energy. This is absolutely the opposite of stagnation. The Eight of Wands is like the Eight of Fire is like drinking out of a fire hose. It's just strong activation, strong forward moving energy. Hallelujah. And again, the way to move forward is to be in the moment and to listen and take action on how you're guided. Staying out of that mind space, which was coming up in that last reading as well. Okay. Wow. These are really good cards. The Sun, the happiest card in the deck, and there's that illumination energy again. So it feels like we're coming back to this sort of expansion energy. If you didn't catch it the first time around, this might be also for those people that, it's like it's like collective energy. So some people are feeling the expansions first, and they're kind of like harnessing them and pulling them through. So we got this card last time too, where it's like you're putting your fingers in that socket, you're getting the download, and whenever anybody does that, you put it's like you're in the dark. There have been a lot of like Nine of Wands type of energy in the readings lately, the personal readings I've been doing, where it's like you're almost out of the tunnel, like we're almost out of the tunnel. Now this is a very different energy where it's like you're out of the tunnel, it's like the light is there where you're coming out. What was I saying? So, anytime anybody kind of has that hookup and sort of liberates themselves, it's like you're in collectively, we're in a tunnel and it's dark. But if somebody like, kind of moves through beyond the edges, it's like Minecraft. My kids used to play Minecraft. And so, you light a torch, you light a torch, or you put a little sign there, and you're just kind of like showing the way through the ethers, through the energetic pathways. So when somebody else comes along that point, it's already lit up for them. So if you were in that wave where you were feeling that huge expansion, then you were part of putting that light there. But if you weren't yet, if you were one that was gonna grab the baton next, then you might be coming up into this energy now. And if you were having, oops, I forgot to turn my notifications off. If you were having this type of expansion, it feels like there's another one coming. This is activation energy. This could also be because this is the Sun. It could be that there are more flares that activate us and bring us forward. The high M flares and the X flares chunk stuff off, whereas like things will kind of like brew and simmer and just kind of like, and then we're just kind of how it's been feeling, just this like, oh God, and then the flares come in and they chunk it off and they create this illumination. So this might also, since that last reading kind of had that premonition energy, what we were talking about ended up happening. This could be some more flares coming in, maybe even really big ones that just sort of break open the energy, which would also explain why things were so dense. It's like we were clearing out and creating a pathway for what's coming, for this activation that's coming, to be able to receive it, and also being in the moment, open to receive. And that was that last reading. I think I titled it that, open to receive, because things are coming in. But again, it's like expand, contract. And so I didn't finish this thought. I was talking to a sister this morning, and we were talking about, we were kind of powwowing because we were both in this energy of like, whoa, because we were both in that expanded energy. And then, then we checked in again, and it was like, yeah, things got kind of weird. And so she was sharing with me how she had been journeying with the king cobra. She had watched something, like breeding them, and she watched this like king cobra eat an entire python. And I didn't know that they did this either, but like this like 5-6 foot python, and how it like took it in, it like so I was talking about expansion, contraction, right? Because I was getting this clarity. And so she was like, oh my gosh, with the king cobra expanding to take in this entire huge other snake, and then like contracting, to like digest it. And so we were like, wow, that's exactly what we've been doing. So it's like we expanded, we took in all this light, and then in that light, everything within us or within, reflected around us or in the land around us. So I was talking about that too. As soon as I had that expansion, I started seeing like the overlays in the land that I was connecting with and communing with. And but yeah, you see all the things that aren't a match to that light and that expansion, that wholeness, the things that are separate, then they have to be cleared. So it's like literally like digesting. And a lot of us do that, just like the snake, we do it through our bodies. So, the symptoms, maybe exhaustion. My body's actually felt pretty good. The headache, I actually kind of have a headache right now, but so we're starting with the coronal holes and the geomagnetic storming again the last few days. As well. So a lot with the neck, you might get like the neck pain and the headaches I usually get the neck pain with the solar winds, the high solar winds. And so, so a lot of that, while we're clearing, those of us that do that sort of like snake, which is interesting because we're wrapping up the year, the snake, but doing a last round of that where we're sort of digesting and composting this energy through our bodies, through our energetic body, our emotional body, and our physical body, and clearing it for, again, just like we're lighting pathways in the dark with the expansions, we're clearing the things in the corners and the crevices of those tunnels when we clear and compress within our bodies. And so huge service in that as well. If you are feeling that, then you're part of the team that's forging and cleaning. Okay. So let's see what else. Oh yeah. Okay. So this is the Six of Pentacles. So that's that energy of harvest. What you put in is what you put out. And so that's the thing as well. If you have been doing that work, like it or not, it's like if you signed up for this ride, then you're on it. You're gonna have those realizations, you're gonna have those expansions, and you're gonna have those sewer crawls, and they're again gonna be in direct proportion to each other. And it's just how it has to go in order to integrate. And in doing that, there is that reward energy. So that's what I was getting in my personal cards, because I'll pull cards in the morning just to kind of get a feel for where I'm at. So it was, or where I'm at, where the collective's at, because I mirror the collective, because I read collective energies. So anyway, and there was a lot of like miracle. I think I mentioned this. Just miracle. And like, there's like, I was getting the soul contract card, sacred contract, sacred covenant, this type of thing, where it's like, we're here on mission and we're doing our job. And because we're doing our job, we can't not do our job. And it really sometimes sucks. And you just want to get off that fucking train. Sorry, I'm cursing so much today. I always do, but I am a lot today. There's this reward. There's this reward and fruition. You plant the seed, you take care of the tree, you get the fruit, So just that validation that if it's been a little intense, this is really, really gorgeous activation, like more of the good stuff coming. But again, yeah, just that information that it's just how it has to go, where in order to integrate, so you can hold the energy in your body, transmit it, because it's integrated in your field, create from it, and attract from it. Okay. So, wow, sacred covenant. I've used these cards a lot, and I've shuffled because I did personal reading as well in between, and I think I got this card yesterday. So, but there it is. That's the exact card that I was just talking about. So there it is. This is part of, even though this is sort of an empty scroll here, it's like you signed up for this. If you're resonating with this reading, you signed up for this. And even if you don't feel like you're on the front lines, like forging, if you're relating to this reading, you're still, because it's like we go in phases. Like there's a group of us that do a certain thing, and then we reach back and help, we help, we carve the way. And those people help. And it's like, we're all, and it's not like anybody's ahead of anybody else. It's like, you're perfectly, you signed to this contract to do this piece. Cause this piece of the one that goes first requires a certain skill set. But then these people that are coming next also requires a certain skill set. Like you're more like a bridge between the edge and the people. And like the edge people can't really bridge to these people because they're too fucking out there, but you can, if you're relating to this, you can bridge to these people. And so it's just, and then these people are bridging to these people, and and they have more skills to relate. And so it's like, we're just placed all along the way. We all have different roles. And so there's no like, like even if you're a front runner, doesn't mean that you're better because you're first. It's just like, you just chose to do some of the dirty work because you were capable of doing that. And not everybody has to do that. Not everybody's gonna do that. And not everybody wants to do that or needs to do that because some people need to hold a different space. Okay, so anyway, we all have our sacred contract wherever we're at in doing this, right? And so whatever your role is, wherever you're at and your experience of this journey is connected to your sacred contract. And you came in with exactly what you needed to do what you signed up to do. And so everything, it's like, again, I feel like the light is, I'm just looking out the corner of my eye. It seems like it's changing. Is it this? Anyway, you have all the different boxes checked for exactly what you came here to do. And so whatever you're experiencing, and this comes up in the readings all the time. Oh, look, it's another 7. Another 7, this energy that we're moving into. This comes up in the readings all the time where no matter what it is, whether it's darkness or whether it's, the stuff that we're purging, the self-hatred, the whatever it is, it's all part of it. And so this came up in the last reading as well, that coyote medicine, where it's all part of untying that knot, and it's all part of your journey of how your soul is taking you to connect into your highest expression and your activation. So just trusting all of it. And one of the most important things is not having that judgment on yourself for the times when things feel stagnant, or for the time when things feel confusing or dark, or where you can't feel the light at all, not judging that, because again, wholeness is everything. It's everything. So it's not, sometimes we want to just chase the light and chase what feels good. But again, unless we integrate it with our darkness, then we don't get to keep it. We're just getting high. But it's everything. Wholeness, true light is everything. And so it's embracing, and that's that divine feminine energy as well, embracing everything, no matter what it is. And even like the demons in the middle of the night, it's like, oh, okay, well, come here, come here. You think you're separate, but you're not. And this is a time of unification. So just come home, just come home and be dissolved back into oneness. And always they come because it's what they want. It's what we all want. It's the natural movement. It's only when you fight something and see it as separate that it stays separate. So it's like that as well, just embracing everything in between, all of it as part of your sacred contract and part of the sacred journey and part of the sacred covenant, because the sacred symphony of perfection that we're all living here. We can think that certain things are bad and certain things are good, or things are random, or we're victim of things, but we're not. It's all part of it, and it's all God. You put everything together, you have God consciousness. And so we can't hold anything as separate. And if we do, then we're going to dance with it longer. And so incorporating it in as being perfect for your sacred journey, not comparing yourself to anyone else. And just knowing that you have everything that it takes to walk the path that you're walking. Okay. That feels like a really important message. Okay, so I'm going to do one more on this row here. What do we... Oh my God, self-love. So that's exactly what I was just talking about. That self-love being really, really, really important. Just do not turn on yourself. That's how we got in this mess in the first place. Everything in our society has conditioned us into judging ourselves or feeling wrong, or like, oh, we're not doing it the right way. We didn't get the medal. We didn't get the you're good enough stamp. And so then we feel like we're not good enough, or whatever it is, or I'm not doing it like other people, or I'm upsetting people, or, and it's like just knowing that, we all have our own missions, and some of us, what we're here to do might match other people's more. And some people, you're just really kind of out on an edge that you need to be on, because that's part of what you're here to do. And you have to put in the work that you signed up to do so that you can get the reward for you and for everyone else. You're the only one that can play that unique part. And so you have to play it, even if people don't understand. And the thing is, the more we have that self-love, the less we're going to have, the more we're going to have it reflected in our environment. And so, you might notice that if you have a lot of people attacking you or, criticizing you or something like that, they're just pointing out the places where you're doing that to yourself, right? They're a mirror to that. And so I had this experience a few years ago, many years ago, and I received it was my kid's stepmom. And so she sent me 40 pages of emails telling me what a horrible person I was. And I would get pages and pages and pages every day. And she wanted me to like do all these certain things. She was being like super controlling, and they were going to like take me back to court and all these things. And I had to, I couldn't defend myself, or I couldn't be like, you're such a fucking hypocrite. I had to just like sit with all of that and realize that everything she was saying about me, I had a place in me that I sort of felt bad about myself. So I used it as like a shamanic self-love journey where I just went through all of those points, and I looked at myself and I just made peace with that, yeah, I do kind of have that, like not in the demonic way that she's, framing it, but there is a piece of that. And I can accept that about myself because I understand why. It's like, I just went through this whole thing, and it was how I up-leveled and healed my entire family, because I loved myself through the attack of this person. Right. And so it was this huge up-leveling and this huge self-love. And then I don't really have that kind of like criticism coming at me anymore because I did that work. And so I really didn't like her, but she helped me, and I have all this gratitude. I have all this gratitude for her now. So anyway, and it's kind of the same thing what I was talking about with when you're expanding into a different level of consciousness, and then you might get attacked because there are some pieces that you just recently healed that you need to strengthen even more. Or it's kind of like maybe a cosmic test where it's like, do you mean it, or do you need to do a little, that kind of thing, the expansion. So the self-love, really, 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 really important. Because again, when we have self-love, then we can pull our circuitry in, and then we can transmit our light and our codes and our sacred contract. And then we can receive the rewards for ourselves and for humanity as intended. Okay. So self-love just being like key to everything. All right. So, which is hard when your shit's being triggered, and when you feel, like, well, maybe none of this is true, or, whatever it is, just like being able to hold yourself and create space for yourself, and, blankets and tea and baths and oils and candles and whatever, just self-love, but also being that inner masculine energy for yourself, where you're like, I'm going to stay with you, even if nobody else is, and even if you don't feel that anybody else understands you. I understand you. I hear you, and I honor you, and we're just going to hold this. We're just going to hold this until you feel better, that type of thing. So, okay, the next card is the Two of Fire, the Two of Wands. So that's interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's coming out underneath the Be Here Now. So what we were talking about, just taking action on what you feel. So a lot of our guidance comes through as desire. And I feel the desire to do this. And so my daughter and I, we were out because I'd had that psychic attack at night, and I was just feeling like really, really weird, but I had the whole day free finally. And, we go out into nature every week, but then sometimes I have to like get home for a session or a reading, and I didn't have anything. And so we just like took our time, and we actually got lost, and we were just out there like walking, but we had some like really beautiful communions. So if we're friends on Facebook, you might have seen that, like right as we were like, so what we were talking about is like our desires and the importance of our desires and how our desires come from our soul. And so we can't judge our desires, because even if there's a distortion in a desire, it's like we can't suppress it out of self-judgment, which is the opposite of self-love, right? And like, oh, I'm bad for wanting that, or I shouldn't want that, or maybe that's, whether it's through conditioning or whether it's because you sense a little darkness in your desire or distortion or, society's conditioning, or maybe just a moral ding ding for yourself, but you still have to go towards it, because it's part of you. It might be, this is the coyote medicine again, it might be directing you over here, and then when you get there, you have some sort of experience that purges and catalyzes you so that you can integrate something, and then your desire turns you over here. So it's like, you just got to follow your desires and follow your intuition, even if it doesn't make sense, even if other people judge you, even if you want to judge yourself, and the importance of that. And again, being in the moment. So my daughter and I were really talking about that, and right as so she was having this huge realization, like she felt that too. She's like, oh my God, like I feel like I've been waiting to put this last puzzle piece in for eons, or eons, yes, but also like the last, like many, many years. And I had a parallel experience with that as well. But she just saw that like all her desires were okay. She saw it. And then I started getting like the downloads, and I started like talking about mine and harnessing like, oh my gosh, and then right as I like nailed in on the center of my like deepest knowing and self-alignment, aha came, and I was laying down, and it came, and it flew like right towards me over this tree, and I was like, oh, and then it went around, and it just like went around, and it was just like such beautiful confirmation, and also anchoring of that. But a lot of it was about the perfection of our desires for us and our ever-changing desires. But also, we were talking about this in the last reading, how when you have like a really strong vision, like some of us come from really high frequency places, planets, civilizations, time periods, and we hold those memories and we remember them. So we have visions, and you have, if you're relating to this, visions of divine love, or perfect health, or all these things. And it's like, we carry those codes because we're here to anchor them. And so we carry them, but then we can judge ourselves for it, or you can just kind of be like, how does that even be? I might as well just, kind of corral myself and try to be more earth plane or something. But those things are there for a reason. And just, so I was saying that, like, even if it feels really far out and really Pollyanna and really whatever, just allow it to exist there. Like, don't shut it down. Allow it to exist there. Allow it to be a desire, because the smaller steps towards that will unfold, just to not shut anything down, because some of the things that we're seeing are very, very high frequency, high dimensional things that we actually are landing and anchoring, and yet the steps to get to them are smaller, and they're in the moment. And so listening to all the little strange things that you feel to do, knowing that they're connected to the highest energies, again, fingers in the socket of God, of all that is, and the steps to pulling that down, which is this as well, the harvest, and just staying with it, staying with it. Okay, so that's sort of a different message there about the desire. Okay. Yeah, the right use of power. It's interesting, a lot of golden energy. This was coming up in the personal reading that I did too, where there was all this sort of like golden age, golden illumination, that. And so that makes me feel like with this right use of power, it's like we're using our energy, and we're using our mind, and we're using our focus, and we're using our alignment, our loyalty. Our loyalty is to this higher, this activation energy that we're going through, what we're bringing in, what's coming in, the activation, the highest, just what I was just talking about, that the highest energy that we can find. And we're not toning ourselves down to try to fit in, or we might find ourselves surrounded by people that aren't quite as cutting edge, or aren't quite as coded with this information. It's not as accessible for them. They're not living it and breathing it. It's like they can't really see it. And you might feel like you have to kind of like tone yourself down, or have different kinds of desires, or dampen things to kind of like survive or fit in, or it's easy to judge ourselves when we don't feel seen, and we don't have anybody that matches and encourages us. But again, just this reminder to stay with that higher energy anyways, because when you do, it's going to create I always use the priming of the well analogy, where when you stay with that, and so it's again like the creation energy. If you feel something and you want something and you have a desire, but then you doubt it, or you tone it down, or maybe when you're speaking to somebody else, you kind of like poo-poo it, or you might not speak in language that's really empowering or claiming, where you're like, I am this, you're maybe letting it match what you're seeing, and instead of what you're seeing, right? And so it's just diluting the power that you have, the true power to like flood through with your words and with your creations. And that's the other thing that I'm feeling a lot with the throat. I know a lot of us have been having like scratchy throat or sore throat, stuff like that. And so we were talking about this last time too, with the divine will and the choice, the choice, the right use of power, and this is choice too. We're always choosing to align with the highest version of yourself, and to take action on that. And when you align with that and you choose it, first of all, it'll help clear up our throat problems. But second of all, you create a magnetism that's true to your energetic signature. So again, then what you're receiving is a match to you, because you're not diluting it in any way, or you're not trying to tone it down or match it or merge it with anybody else. You're standing in your own sovereignty. And so that involves boundaries too, where you might need to shut somebody out because they're distracting you, or they're pulling on your energy. Sure, leave them around so you can do that shadow work, but once you're done with that, and it doesn't feel like there's that cosmic thing, and it's just the next action is to cut it out, again being in the moment and following the desire, then to cut out and to have those boundaries. But having those boundaries around our own thoughts and our own words, and how we're saying things, and how we're phrasing things, and how we're interpreting things, the perspective that we're having, the choices that we're making in response to the perspective that we're having. If it's not the highest perspective, then our response to it isn't going to be the highest response. So it's like we really have to go the whole way, even if it isolates us, or even if it makes us have to leave people behind. Just we owe it to ourselves and to life, and to our sacred contracts, and to the earth, and to the collective, and Gaia, and everything that we're here for, to go the whole way. So also along with this desire too. So again, the throat, to choose divine will. And choosing through what you're believing, what you're believing, and what you're speaking, and what you're commanding, and working with those two things. So a lot of us have been having neck and head, right? So that's that. The neck again always comes through for me as divine will. It might be our solar plexus that gets us to take action, but it's the throat chakra that puts it in motion. It's connected with the third eye, where what you're believing, the stories that you're telling, what you're speaking, how you're framing things, is what's creating, and what pulls in then through the solar plexus, the action that you're going to take, what comes in your field and invites you. So again, making sure that you're lining up with the highest, truest version of yourself. So again, crown games, right use of power. So there's that crown, that crown chakra, that highest access that you have, clearing through those third eye, those mind control programs. The only way that we can be steered away from our birthright, which is our true divinity, our true connection, is through mind control. And so you have complete power over that through your belief and your focus and your words. But choosing to pierce through that, and to allow these activations and these energies that are coming through to purify you, and knowing that that's what's going on. If you're having a lot of body stuff, or if you're having a lot of like strange mental or emotional things, you're being purified, and viewing through that highest perspective, so you can create through the highest perspective, so that purification can happen without clogging up, without getting stuck. Again, the choice, the throat, the crown, the throat, and the head, working together, where you're speaking and you're believing and you're affirming, and you're creating and pulling towards you, from the highest, so that what you do pull towards you is a match, right? Okay. So a lot with that. And that was a lot what came through for me, with the backside of the sun flares, and the clearing that I felt, and the claiming of that power. The claiming of that power, and the right, again, choosing to use our power to command our realities, to affirm the highest, most audacious interpretation of reality, and knowing that what we believe is what we experience and what we create. And so Why would we limit ourselves with a limiting view? It might be true on a fourth dimensional or lower dimensional level, but if it's not the highest level, then who cares? It's like, why go for a narrower view when you can go for the higher view? And the more you can align, again, with the crown games, that highest view, then the more you're going to start to experience that in your reality. And a lot of the fourth dimensional trapping systems that we find ourselves falling into are trying to assist us. They're showing us where we're still putting our energy and our belief and our focus on them, where we can rise out and tell a different story and choose a different reality by claiming it. By claiming it, the affirmations, I am safe, I am protected, I am guided, I am a magnet to miracles. Everything always works out in miraculous ways for me. I am attracting in everything that I need. I always have everything that I need exactly when I need it. I am activating, I am clearing, I am, all these things and keeping on that in any area of your life that you're feeling yourself experiencing something that you don't want to experience. Change the story, change the focus, change what you're focusing on, what you want to draw in. Okay, so let me do a little bit more. I'm at 48 minutes. I usually like to complete the row, but it is getting a little dark. And so I think I might just pull a couple more cards and close it out. Oh, that's so beautiful. So magic. And it's a number 33 card. So 33 always comes through for some reason as hawk energy for me, where it's like you're in the right place at the right time. And so I might just close on this message, the magic. And so this was the kind of stuff that I was getting to in my morning cards, where it was like miracles, it's like magic is possible. Things can feel so stuck. They can feel so stagnant. And sometimes, again, they need to be that way so that we can do the cleanup and so that we can see what we need to see and where we're leaking our power. Again, the eights are about what's hidden, what's not visible, where we're kind of like leaking our power in hidden ways that we can't see, and then seeing, going into those underworld places so that you can see, and then you can choose differently. And once you see and you choose differently, it's like things can change like that. And so a friend of mine on Facebook posted this beautiful sort of like invocation that I'll post in the comments, and it was like this thing, and you say it 3 times, and you're kind of commanding your space. I don't remember, it was kind of long, but I will post it in there. And so again, then you can just by refocusing your mind, you can shift your hologram immediately, and that can go for health. You shift how you're viewing your health and your symptoms and into an empowering way, again, hooked up to the highest, and they can change on a dime, like immediately. And that's like Joe Dispenza, like people with 4th stage cancer, 5th stage cancer, whatever it is, that have tried all the conventional medicine, and they're told they're going to die, and they go to these workshops, which is just about like hooking in to that higher limitless energy, and then they heal. They heal completely. And we can all do that at any moment that we want. We don't have to wait until we've tried all the limited things we're told that we're allowed to try, and we're going to die. And then we try our consciousness and our will and our focus. We can do it now, and we can do it, with our lives and our health, and like whether we live or die. And we can do it with anything else as well. Whatever it is that we feel contracted in, and also contracted to work on. We all have different areas that we're working on in terms of what we're busting through the limits on for humanity. Maybe not all of us, but those of us that do, right? Working on different things. A lot of us working on the health thing, immortality, that type of thing. Where you're gonna choose when you go. You're gonna choose, and you're gonna choose. You're gonna choose it all. You're gonna choose to not have to slave away at a job you don't like. You're gonna choose to align with your sovereignty, and you're gonna make choices from that place as you're guided, and you're going to see that magic responds. And it's not really magic, it's just cosmic law. When you're connected to the highest you that you can reach, you're going to experience the results in the outer world of the highest you that you can reach. So just this real urging of not limiting ourselves in any way. So that's sort of the message from the cards, which is really, really beautiful. And then my own sort of conversation and communion on some of the denser energies that I know a lot of us had been feeling, and some of the insights insights that I was having around the integration and the need for both of those polarities. So, okay, I am going to stop there. Thank you for listening and for communing. Again, I'm feeling this really, really strong energy of where two or more gather, and we put our consciousness on these things. We help to anchor it and to bring it forward and to move the energy along. But again, it's that divine timing where you can't really do it until it's time because you can't force yourself to do something until you have the desire to do it. And you're not going to have the desire to do it until it's time. So again, trusting all of it, every part of it, and that self-love being so important all along the way, but especially now as we move through these threshold energies and fulfill our covenant and come into the highest version of ourselves and anchoring it here and doing that in the moment as our overall energy. So, okay, much love to you. Thank you for being here and for everything that you do inside of yourself and your contribution to this amazing shift that we're going through right now. So, all right, I'll see you next time if I do.